Welcome everybody, thank you for coming. And I'm sorry I'm not used to all this formality. We give Dharma talks every week at Wadesar on Sunday, and I do that at least once a month. We just don't have all this formal stuff going on. You just kind of get up there and sit down. And Western style is usually less formal. Also, most of us that have come from the U.S. and other countries have gone to like Hongwan or attended the Korean style of school or training. I did not. I came here in 1997, and I didn't receive all the training that most of the Western monks and of course the Korean monks have. Basically, I just stayed with the Western Sangha, and we all always spoke English. Yeah. We always spoke English, and so this is why you see I'm a little bit awkward with this kind of a ceremony things. And so, but basically, I guess I want to tell you a little bit about Zen Master Seung Sahn. As you know, he passed into Nirvana in 2004, and I met him in 1986, and he's, I guess, as far as I'm concerned, he kind of saved my life with his practice, and his practice is very complete. And so I met him in 1986, and in 1986 I went to Cambridge Zen Center and sat there. And while I was sitting there, but prior to that, actually, I had studied other kinds of Zen, you know, Chinese Zen, Japanese Zen. I didn't actually know there was anything called like Korean Zen. And so I just kind of walked into this by accident. I went to the I went to the bookstore and got the International Buddhist Directory, a book that told of all the Buddhist places in the world. And I looked under the A's, and under the A's, the Quantum Zen School, which is what I'm in now, was located in Cambridge Zen Center. So it was convenient for me to go there. So I went there and checked it out. And so while there, I practiced with them a little, and then I sat a retreat. And I sat this retreat for about 1 week. And then at the end of the retreat, Zen Master Seung Sahn would come and do interviews. And so this, up until that point, basically, my practice has been, I've been studying by books, the Japanese style of Buddhism. I started with the 3 Pillars of Zen by Kapleau. And so I took this book and studied that way. And when I went to the Cambridge Zen Center, I still had that kind of practicing mind. And the Japanese style basically is that you don't move, you just sit there. So for 1 week, basically, I just sat in quite a bit of pain, and I didn't move. And actually, in our school, if you like, your legs hurt, you can stand. And then when the pain goes away, then you hop chong and you sit down. But at that time, I had just gotten used to doing the Japanese style of practicing, so I just sat there in quite a bit of pain. And so as that week went on, towards the end, Zen Master Seung Sahn showed up, and I went and did an interview with him. And this interview, during this interview, I'd never met a person like this before. Zen Master Seung Sahn really knew his stuff. He knew about Zen and Buddhism from top to bottom, and at the time, I'd been sitting and I had just a very small experience. And before Zen Master Seung Sahn came, and then this experience just kind of went away. Now what happened is that while I was sitting, everything just got bright and optimistic and stuff like that. And I kind of thought it was a kind of enlightenment. And so when I went and saw Zen Master Seung Sahn, I told him what happened, and he said, and I told him that, but it's gone now. This experience is gone now. And he says, no, you're still clear. And I said, no, that it's gone. He said, no, you're still clear. I said, no, I'm not clear. And then he hit the floor, and I looked down at the floor. Then he pointed up at the wall, And then he moved his stick. And when he moved his stick, my mind just back to where it was to really clear. So when he did that, he just showed me that where I was at that point, I knew this person really knew his stuff. And so from that point on, I decided to stay with the Quantum Zen school. So many times, Zen Master Seung Sahn would teach about, would say that he only teaches don't know. So I've heard him say that a couple times. I've asked him a couple questions where he would say that also. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about this don't know. So actually I have a couple ways of telling people about don't know. And one way is that don't know is before thinking. So before you think, that's don't know. Okay, so that's don't know. The other way I do is I just go like that. So when I hit the floor like that, your mind doesn't say bang, it doesn't say bong, it doesn't say pow. Did your mind say pow? No. And that's because when I do that, you directly perceive that. You perceive that directly with your mind. And that's before thinking. So now you know what before thinking is. Anytime somebody asks you, what is this before thinking? Just do that. Because you directly perceive that. That's before thinking. Okay? So that's the second way. The third way, I say, what did your mother's face look like before she was born? What did your mother's face look like before she was born? Huh? Don't know? Yeah, so don't know. Yeah, you don't know. And sometimes when I ask people like that, I get a lot of arguments. But the bottom line is you don't know what your mother's face looked like before she was born. Okay? Anything else is just thinking. Okay? And so what's interesting about this, what did your mother's face look like before she was born? Some people kind of refuse to get into that question, but this question is just a key. What kind of a key? It's a key that opens your mind, that opens you to your intuitive mind, to your before-thinking mind. Now, if you want to take this key and put it in your ear, you can. You want to throw it out the window, you can. You want to just toss it in the trash, you can also. All right? But that's not going to tell you about your true self. Okay? So when we have these different, I'll get into more of that later as I move on. So what happens? When you come to the Zen Center and you come to the Dharma room, you see people sitting in the Dharma room. Okay? They're sitting in the Dharma room and they're practicing keeping this don't know mind. Okay? So they practice it by asking themselves, what am I? So if you sincerely ask yourself, what am I? Okay? Then eventually you get to this point where your thinking is cut off. Okay? So I can ask myself, what am I? And so, then what happens is I say, I'm Quan Heng, okay? But that's just a name. And in fact, that's not even the name my mother gave me. So that's not who I am, okay? So then I could say, I'm a monk. So that's just what I do, but that's still not who I am. I could say I'm happy, but that's just how I feel. That's not who I am. So I can go down any of the things I can think of. Then if I look at that, I could see that's not who I am. So eventually I get to this point where I cannot think, okay? Where the thinking is cut off, and we call that don't know. So when you see people sitting in the Dharma room, they're just keeping this don't know mind. So when I did this, hit the floor, and I asked you the question about what did your mother's face look like before she was born, this don't know mind, just the one moment appeared. But when you're sitting and you keep this don't know mind, then what happens is this point gets longer and longer and longer where you keep this don't know mind, okay? And eventually this don't know mind turns into clear mind, okay? So clear mind means that the floor is brown, the cushion is gray, and this cushion is yellow. Very simple, okay? And so then next, what is the next step? The next step is then how does this clear mind function? When somebody's hungry, give them food. When somebody's tired, when you're tired, rest. Okay, somebody's thirsty, give them some water. So it's actually very simple. Zen is very simple. And so So then why do we practice? We practice to get enlightenment and to help others, to see our true selves, get enlightenment, and to help others. But during that practice, along that practice, as we practice, there are many benefits that appear along the way. But we don't attach to these benefits, okay? And so we can benefit ourselves and we can benefit others, okay, as we practice. One of the ways that I do is I tell people about how to practice, beginning people about how to practice. So I'm going to just show you a little bit about that. So this practice that I'm going to show you is just a meditation. If you're another religion, you're doing something else, you're Christian, Judaism, or you're Confucian, or any of those other kinds of religions, you can do this because it's just simply a meditation and you can stay loyal to whatever you are. So this is not necessarily Buddhism, it's just a simple meditation. So you just have your hand like this. If you can try this, have your hand like this, you see? Like that, yeah. And put these 2 fingers, about 2 fingers below your belly button. Okay. And you stare softly at the floor in front of you, about 45 degrees. Your back is straight. So if your back is straight, that means all your organs, all your internal organs are all lined up. If you're bent like that, then your organs, you kind of crunch down on them. Okay? And so that's not so healthy. But if you like this, actually, this is very healthy. And in terms of practicing and meditation, this is a very convenient form of practicing. So it doesn't matter how you have your legs here. If this is, I have mine just is like this. It's actually my foot is up here. This is quite comfortable. And so our school is that we don't so much concentrate on exactly how it is that we sit, and I'll tell you more about that later. So you're sitting like this, and you're looking 45 degrees in front of you. You're looking softly. You're not staring. Your attention is on your belly, and you just breathe in. And then breathe out. Put your attention on your belly. Breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. And breathe out. Now as you breathe in, count 1. And as you breathe out, say, clear mind, clear mind. Breathe in, count 2. And breathe out, clear mind, clear mind. And breathe in, count 3. And breathe out, clear mind, clear mind. And breathe in, count 4. And breathe out, clear mind, clear mind. Now just continue to do that until you reach 10, and go at your own pace. Your attention on your belly. And then when you reach 10, just go back and start over. Now if you do that 3 times, that's actually very helpful for your concentration. But if you do this every day, and you do it for like say a half hour each day, then what happens is that as you sit there each day, everything's going to appear for you. All your likes, your dislikes, all the traumas in your life, the things you like, all the hatreds, everything, all the discomforts of your mind are going to appear for you during that half hour. And so what you do is you don't hold on to it. Okay? You don't hold on to the good things, to all the things that make you feel good, and you don't push away all the bad things. Okay? Things that make you bad, you don't push make you unhappy, you don't push those away. But they're going to appear. All your friends, all your demons, they're going to come and visit you. But when that happens, you just continue to bring yourself to your practice. Okay? So all you do that, and you do that as a meditation, and then what happens is that all these things, all these likes and dislikes that you have in your mind have less of a hold on you. Okay? So what's very interesting about this is that if you have problems in your past and personalities, and many of us do, I certainly have had a few, they tend to come up. And so what happens in regular life is that when something happens to you, you handle it with your thinking mind. Okay? So the thing about your thinking mind is that it pushes these things in the back and it doesn't digest them. Okay? And on occasion they come up and they appear and just make your life miserable. But if you want to actually take those away or to deal with those, okay, then as you practice, you breathe in and you breathe out, these things will appear. But you don't push them away and you don't hold on to them. If you don't push them away and you don't hold on to them, eventually what happens is they fall away. So they have a sutra that says that everything appears, everything disappears. Everything appears and everything disappears. When this appearing and disappearing disappears, then that's bliss, and that's don't know mind. Okay? So that's just a simple practice. And so people often ask about Buddhism, how is Buddhism relevant today? But Buddhism has always been relevant, because Buddhism is all about being non-attached. If you are attached to things, then you're going to suffer. And so that's what's going on in this world right now. All the fighting, all the hatred, all the stuff that's going on is people are attached. Okay? So that's kind of like what that's about. So, often I tell people about this 2008 recession that happened on Wall Street. What was that all about? That was about people who graduated from the best colleges in the U.S., Harvard and Yale and all of these very fine colleges. These people thought up a scheme of how to make money, make their bank accounts nice and big, and they did it at the expense of the whole world. They ruined the world economy, and they didn't care. And that's called attachment. Okay, so it's attachment to money. So as you practice, and these things, of course, everybody likes money. There's nothing wrong with liking money, sex or food or sleep, power. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, liking that. But being attached to that, that's a problem. Okay, so I like ice cream. Yeah, I like chocolate ice cream. I do. I really enjoy chocolate ice cream. So when I'm with my, back in the summertime when I'm working all day. I'm sweating, and it's a hard day's work. I want to come home and I want to have my chocolate ice cream. And I like to sit in front of the TV and watch the news. Yeah, and so just have my little chocolate ice cream after work. There's nothing wrong with that. So one day I come home and I go to my freezer. I open up my freezer, and the chocolate ice cream is gone. And so I look over there and I see my little brother. He's got chocolate on his mouth. Now should I go over there and smack him? Huh? If I was attached to this chocolate ice cream, okay, and then I might do that. But if not, I mean, it's okay to like ice cream, but if I instead saw that ice cream was gone, and I looked over there and I saw that my brother took it, instead of getting angry at him and hitting him, then what I can do is I can teach him. I can teach him in that moment of how it's not good to take things that doesn't belong. So that's kind of like what that's about. That's what a non-attachment is. And that's what Buddhism is about. And so I'm sure you can see the relevance of that and the relevance of that practice. And all it is kind of like a simple meditation. So now the thing about that is then if you want to really begin to look at your true self to see who you are, then you got to get away from the meditation that I showed you, to breathing in, breathing out, and you got to ask yourself a question: what am I? So you ask, it's just one of our style of practices. that you ask yourself, what am I? So then when you do that, you more seriously get into Buddhism and the practice of Zen and our style Zen. But I'll tell you something about this question about what am I. Originally, this question has no religion. I think everybody in here, before they knew about Buddhism, asked themselves who they were. I think every human being sometimes look at themselves and ask themselves, what am I? So it's not really a Buddhist question, okay? And when the Buddha went out and looked into this question about who he was and about suffering, there was no Buddhism. This is just human nature, human kind of a thing. But anyways, if you do this, then more asking yourself this question, what am I? Then you're more kind of practicing Buddhism. Why is that? Because Buddhism is a very formulated way, has a very formulated way of looking at this question of what am I? Okay, so that's all that it is. And so so then as you ask yourself this question, this what am I, then eventually you'll be able to see that actually there's nobody there, there's no I, my, or me. There's nobody that has a self-nature. You're not going to find an I, my, or me. Okay? So then that's what's kind of interesting about that is when you look and you see that there's nobody that's a self, there's no I, that there's no mine, then why run around trying to fill your bank account? See how many boyfriends or girlfriends you can get. You know, how can I beat out my friend? It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that if you look inside and you really see that there's nobody there that you can say is an I, my, or me. Now, does that mean that you all should now shave your head and become monks and nuns? That would be nice. No, actually that's not what that means. What that means is that your emphasis changes a little. Okay? Your emphasis changes. It becomes, how can I help my husband? How can I help my girlfriend? How can I help my wife? How can I help my family? Okay? Now this doesn't, you can still enjoy life, you can still enjoy all the things of life, but you don't attach to it. And you learn how to not be attached to that as you practice. Okay? So if you're not practicing, you're not going to learn how to be unattached. Okay? Reading a book is not going to get you unattached. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. You have to practice. Okay? So then, so that's how that goes. So when you look and you see that there's nobody with this I, my, and me, then how do I help my family? How do I help the people at my job? And then also, how do I help my community? How do I help the world? Because when you look inside and you see that there's nobody that has this I, my, or me, you don't have to get depressed about that, because then what happens is you see that actually everybody's connected. Everybody in this room is connected. Everybody in this country is connected, and this world is connected. So there's nothing to be depressed about that. Okay? So if you can see that and you can feel that, it doesn't make a lot of sense that when somebody comes up to you and says, you know, we can make, if you invest $50,000 in this company, in 10, 20 years, you can retire. There'd be no problem. And it's a guarantee. And you know that this person is telling you that he's a good guy and that this is true. So then you ask him, okay, what kind of company is it? And he says, it's a small arms company. They sell guns. I mean, why should I invest $50,000 in a company like that? Why should I do that? So if you look inside and you see that there's no I, my, and me, and that you and the universe is connected, you're probably not going to take that deal. You're going to say, that's okay, no problem. I'll find something else to invest in, or I'll do something else. Why should I do that? Years ago, in California, there was this company, this gun company. And they made, I guess they were called the Glocks or something like that. It's maybe a 9mm gun. But they did something that was really kind of strange. They made a gun with the handle, when you took this gun and you used it and you threw it down, the police, they looked at the handle of the thing, could not take your fingerprints off it. Yeah, interesting. They could not take the fingerprints off the gun handle of this gun. So if you shot somebody and threw it down, and the police picked it up, they couldn't find your fingerprints on it. Now, why make a gun like that? For what sane reason would somebody make a gun like that? The only reason he's doing that is to make money. It has nothing to do with helping the community or helping the people or anything like that. That's just sheer greed. Sheer greed. So the people that one of the things is about our thinking, our cognitive mind. Okay, that's only thing that follows is our desires. Wealth, money, sleep, food, sex. That's all that our thinking mind follows. So if you get to your before thinking mind, your intuitive self, your true self, that's where all of humanity connects. But we lose ourselves in our thinking mind. So that's kind of like how that is. And that's what this whole practice of don't know is. If you say don't know, then you get to this before thinking mind. Okay? You get to this before thinking mind, then you can find out who you really are, how you connect to the universe, your job in this universe. Okay? And I guarantee you it's not whacking somebody across the head. Okay? It's not having wars and stuff like that. So now I'm going to tell you something about this don't know. That's very interesting. I told you about this don't know is before thinking. So now I'm going to tell you something else. That this don't know is not don't know. Very interesting, huh? This don't know mind is not don't know. So why do I say that? I say that because all the Buddhist practices in the world, all the Buddhist and Zen practices that claim to do what the Buddha did, which is get enlightenment, have to get to this before thinking place. So that means the Japanese Renzai, the Japanese Soto style, the Vipassana, the Theravada, the insight meditation, all the Southeast Asian styles of Buddhism, Tibetan style of Buddhism, all of these forms of Buddhism, if they claim to do what the Buddha did when he got enlightenment, has to get to this before thinking place. They all have different names for it, but they have to get there. Why is that? Because you will not be able to understand your place in the universe, what life and death is about, with your thinking and your cognitive mind. Your thinking and your cognitive mind, it follows your desires. Okay? And so that's kind of what that's about. So what's really interesting about that is that along that line, that means that the Korean Zen doesn't argue with the Japanese Zen. The Japanese Zen doesn't say argue with the Vipassana Zen. None of us are better, is the best. Okay? How do I say that? Why do I say that? Okay. So why? It's not on. So why do I say that? Because actually, what it is what works for me. So if you're wondering which Buddhism is to practice, it's the one that works for you. So if Zen works for you, Korean Zen, do that. If Japanese Zen works for you, do that. If Vipassana is what gets you to see your true self, then do that. Okay? And that's how it is. There's no arguments about which is better. Okay? There's nothing about that. It's only what can help you to find your true self and to help others. So then that's kind of interesting is that maybe I'll just take this. Kind of annoying. This ain't working too good either. Anyway, so Now, then one of the interesting things about the Buddha is that when the Buddha went out and was looking to find out what suffering and everything was about, what's really interesting is that he didn't look outside himself. Okay? He didn't look at some deity. He didn't look outside of himself and say, what is going on? What's life about? What's happening? He looked inside. Okay? So he looked inside. When he looked inside, he found the truth. The truth of the universe, the truth the way things were. Okay? He didn't, so anyways, that's what he did. He found the truth. And then from that, all that the Buddha did after that was to teach people the techniques of also how they can experience truth just like he did. The Buddha doesn't teach truth. He teaches you the technique so that you can experience truth. So all of the Buddhas, Zen masters, and all of us, including myself, we're not teaching you truth. We simply teach you techniques so that you can look at so that you can experience truth for yourself. They're very simple. That's why Zen is so, I like Zen because it's very simple. It's not if you want complicated, you can have complicated, because it is complicated. Okay? Tibetan style Buddhism. What do you do with Tibetan style Buddhism? You visualize. So you look at the Quantum Bosa with 1,000 eyes and 1,000 hands. Okay, 1,000 hands, and that she helps. So you have to visualize all of those hands. All right? And you have to visualize this Quantum Bosa. When you do that, it just grabs hold of your thinking mind and it brings you to this before thinking place. But if you're a really strong kind of intellectual thinking person, then that's the kind of thing that you do. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just that style. Vipassana, they look at where the sensations arise. So they go back to where the sensations arise. When you get to that place, that's before thinking. Okay? So one thing that I tell everybody, if you come to our school and you study this, you practice this don't know mind, you attain this don't know mind, you can go to any of these Buddhist schools in the world, any of them, and you can find out, one, are they actually teaching correct Buddhism? Okay? That means, are they getting to this before thinking place to show you how to attain your true self, get enlightenment, and help others? And if not, you can just go someplace else. Okay? So then you can see that. If it's something that you like, stay there and do it. No problem. It's very simple. So, okay, then one of the problems is that you can, if you go to a place and you find that they're not teaching this, how to get to this before thinking place, chances are you're in a college course. Probably come here to Dungbuk University, which is, it's okay. So that's just study, and that's all thinking. That's all your cognitive thinking. You have to get to this, if you really want to understand yourself and what life's about, you have to get to this before thinking place. And you have to do it by practicing. Okay? So I just told you one of the practices, and one of the practices was just sitting and asking yourself, what am I? But also there are other practices. There's, for instance, bowing. Okay? So we have this bowing practice. And in the morning, at the Quantum Zen School, every morning we get up and we do 108 bows. Okay? So 108 bows every morning. So then people say, why didn't you get up and do 108 bows? That's because that when you get up, you notice sometimes when you go to work and you say something to somebody, like you say, good morning, and then they say, what's so good about it? Okay? You know that person got out on the wrong side of the bed, huh? He came to work, he's angry. So what happened? He got up out of bed, probably had some bad dream, okay? Or something that happened in his mind when he woke up, and the anger was there, okay? So, and what he did then is he went and he washed up, and as the person washed up, he's just dwelling on this anger, okay? And so as he washed up, he's dwelling on this thing, and then he goes and eat breakfast. And also he's still got this anger on his mind. And then while he's eating breakfast, then all of a sudden, he hooks it up with somebody, maybe at work, somebody in his family, maybe even his wife or his child, and he begins to believe in that anger. But that anger actually it probably came like from nowhere. But if you get up in the morning and you do 108 bows, you get up and you only do 108, just 108 bows, okay? And only the 108 bows. When you finish that 108 bows, that mind is gone. The depression or anything that you wake up with, if you get up and you just do the 108 bows and only that, it's gone. You don't have to worry about it. So your sleeping mind that was out wandering around in New York, in Korea, in China, and your body was laying down there in bed, all of that comes together when you do those bows. Okay? So that's just kind of like one of the ways that we use bowing. Another way that we use bowing is that at Wage-sa they have the Samchon-bei, and also there's a few temples actually that have the Samchon-bei. And Samchon-bei is 3,000 bows. And so that means that at night people do 3,000 bows. So sometimes what happens is that people come to me and they'll say they're thinking about leaving their job and getting another job, thinking about going to school. They want to maybe thinking about getting married. Some different kinds of questions like that. And then they look at me. Come to Wage-sa, this has happened a number of times, and they say, what should I do? I'm not going to tell them. Later on, they're going to come back and haunt me, right? So actually what we do, what I do, is I tell them, you come and you do the 3,000 bows. Okay? So when we do 3,000 bows, just picture that. You start bowing at 9 o'clock. Okay? And so you bow for 50 minutes. And at 9:50, you take a 10-minute break. And then you bow for another 50 minutes. And you do that until 11:50, and then you take a 40-minute break. And then at 11:30, you start again, you do 3 more rounds, and it takes you to 3 a.m. Now imagine that you've done one set of 50-minute rounds of bowing, and now you've done 25 minutes into the second round. You've got the whole evening to go. The sweat is pouring off of you. You're huffing and puffing. You don't know if you can make the evening. Now, at that time, ask yourself your friend's phone number. Can you? You can't. You can't. You can't think. You see? So the bowing just takes away your thinking. This is you see like a lot of the people, you just use bowing. It's an easy way also to take away your thinking. But now if you do that, and you do this 3,000 bows, and you really, you do this practice, and you're huffing and puffing, then sometimes, it might not even happen that night, but as you're going about your day, in the next few days, there may be the answer to your question. Should I leave my job? Should I get another job? Should I start a new career? The answer will come up. It'll come from your gut. And it's not your answer. I mean, it's not your teacher's answer. It's not your mother's answer. It's not your friend's answer. That's actually your answer. It comes right from your gut. I've done that a number of times, and I've also known other people that have done that. Okay? Sometimes the answer that you come up with is scary, and you don't want to follow it, but that's your answer. The answer will appear, and you'll see that's the answer. Well, you might, if you don't believe in yourself, maybe you don't want to follow it. Okay? But that answer will appear. So that's kind of like how another way that we use the Samchon-bei. But of course, a lot of people about how we use people are using bowing. They use it so that, like you see a lot of the older Korean women are doing the bows. They're doing it so that the husband can have a good job. The son can go to a good school and get a good job. The daughter can marry find a nice husband and get married and all of that. That's what a lot of the people you see going to the temples bowing, they do that. And so actually, I don't see anything wrong with that, because, the Buddha said life is suffering. So somebody coming to the temple and they're bowing, they want to have their new TV, their new car, their new house, and so forth and so on. What's going to happen? Sooner or later, something in life is going to happen. Somebody's going to pass away or something like that. Recently I had my father pass away and my sister pass away. So before that, I have 7 sisters and 1 brother. And just until a couple years, I never had anybody close to me pass away like that. But then my father and then my sister passed away. Okay, then all of a sudden, you get this hit. What is it? What is life about? It can't be about a new TV, a new car, just getting, you know. But see, what's very interesting about that, already this person's in the temple and practicing, okay? It's better than being down at the bar drinking or out partying or something like that. So that person, this energy that they have to bowing to get these new things, you can actually just really easily put that back into what's going on, what is life about, what am I? So that's the kind of thing about the bowing. And the other thing about bowing is that there, like I said, there are a lot of advantages to this kind of practicing. So people often say that what's so practical about it. It's very, very practical and very relevant. So another way is that anger. Okay, a lot of us get angry. Okay, when you get angry, the good thing to do is get physical, and I don't mean beating somebody up. So you need to get physical. Bowing. You bow. Do 1,000 bows. Okay? And then that anger will just fall away. Okay? So that's how that is. And that's how we kind of use that practicing. So we have many different practices. So that's sitting, bowing, chanting. Okay? Kongan practice. Sanyu breathing practice. And together action. Okay? And some time. Okay. All right. So then another thing, then I'll tell you a little bit about the Kongan practice. The Kongan practice is also quite interesting. Is that a Kongan practice is how to have your wisdom grow up. So your life experience and your intellect come together, and you can, from that, you have wisdom. So what is a Kongan? A Kongan is simple discourses that a teacher and a pupil had, or maybe two students have, or two teachers have, some kind of discourse, and the teaching came out of that. Okay, and so many people began to use those examples and look at them, and in doing so, their mind opened up. So a classic Kongan is the Mu Kongan. So Joju Zen Master had a student come up to him, and the student asked him, "Does a dog have Buddha nature?" And Joju said, "No, Mu." And so, but the thing is, the Buddha said, everything has Buddha nature. Everything has Buddha nature. But you know, also Joju is a Zen master. His mind is same as the Buddha's mind, right? So then the question goes, does the dog have Buddha nature? That's the Kongan. Does the dog have Buddha nature? I asked you, does the dog have Buddha nature?
I say yes.
You say, okay. All right. Okay, so that's not good, that's not bad, but that's thinking. And if I had a stick, I would hit you. But and so the thing about the Kongan is that you can't actually answer it with your cognitive and your thinking mind. You answer it with your intuitive mind, and so then your wisdom grows up. And so and what's also interesting about that is that actually when we go through life, day-to-day life, the situations that arise in our job, the situations that arise in our relationships, those are all Kongans. Those are all Kongans. So when you learn how to use these Kongans, when you learn how to answer them, when you just see them, and the answer just appears like that, then also that if you can do that just into your life. Your life goes that way also. It's not different. So then, so that's kind of like about how Kongans are. And another thing that we can talk about is chanting. So chanting is also good. I myself, when I was first started practicing, I hated chanting. I mean, I like chanting as a group, but if you give me a mo talk and put me alone and have to chant alone, can you imagine saying Kwanzaa Bosa for like an hour, just quantum bosa. It's a pain. It's not easy. But it's interesting because some places in the world will actually say quantum bosa and they'll keep it going for 1 month without stopping. They'll just keep on putting somebody in there and that person will stay like say all night or for a couple hours doing quantum bosa, and then when they get tired somebody else will come in. And they'll do it for 1 month. That's really a serious practice. It's quite I've seen that in Malaysia, in Singapore. It's the Amitabha. They just keep that going, okay? But what's really interesting about that is that as much as I disliked doing this chanting, and one of the things that what we find that when we do it is that our style of chanting is that you chant, and when you chant you hear your voice and you hear the other people's voice around you. And when you do that, you harmonize with that, okay? And by just doing that, that puts you there in the moment. Okay? So that just brings you there in a moment. And so that's just another one of the practices. So when you come and actually you do a retreat, you do all of those things. You do the sitting, you do bowing, you do chanting, you do the Kongan interviews. And a lot of people on their own will come and they'll do the Sanyu breathing practices. And together action, everybody does together action. So when you get up at the same time. Okay? You do the same working period, you do the same sitting. Now, where I get up, we get up at 3 in the morning, okay? I get up at 2:30 to wake everybody else up. Now, I guarantee you, if I was alone, I wouldn't do that. No way I was going to do that. Yeah, I did that, no problem. I tell people that I couldn't do it, but if you're together with a group, then you do that, okay? So the action of the group, the power of the group helps you to do this practice. And so that's what together action is. Korea is very, very strong on together action. It's very helpful. Everybody does everything at the same time. If you find you don't want to do something at the same time, that's just your mind, that's your opinion, that's your thinking. Are you attached to that opinion? Are you going to be so attached to it that you're going to stand there and get into a knockdown? No, I'm not getting up. I don't care. But when you do that, you can see your mind. You see, that's me. That's my mind. And that makes no sense. And then you can work with that. You can work with that by practicing. Just continue to practice. Okay? But when you're living alone and you're practicing, okay, you can't see your mind like that. There's no way. So what happens is a lot of people that practice alone, but their likes and their dislikes and their stuff, they fix things just how they like, and so they don't get to see their mind, because their mind is not always nice and relaxed and and how things are. That's not. And so also practicing, you don't always practice only when you're in a good mood. You keep the same schedule. When you sit there, you just, the same time, you just sit. Now, if you're able to sit when you're really upset and disturbed, okay, then when you're outside and you're out in your life and you're upset and disturbed, then maybe then you're not going to act on that upset mind, that disturbed mind. Okay? Okay, so I'm upset and I'm disturbed. Okay, I don't need to act on it. I don't need to hit or say the wrong things or this or that. And also what's interesting about that is that a lot of times we get angry or something like that and we just push it down. We push it down, and when we push it down into our bodies, what we do is we get sick later on. We get different hypertension, different tumors, cancer, all of that. If you're practicing, then you can deal with that, you can work with that, you can let that go. So even if you get angry, like I get really angry, somebody does something really stupid, I get really angry. Later on, okay, and I'm really angry, but I don't act on that anger, okay? But I know that later on that when I'm sitting, okay, this anger is going to appear. This anger is going to appear. Well, when I go back to this before thinking mind, this anger appears. And it stays there in all its glory. It might be there for a long time. The next day when I come back, it might still be there. But I don't hold on to it, and I don't push it away. I don't follow it by a lot of thinking. And then eventually it just drops away. It doesn't stay in my body, and it doesn't stay in my mind. So that's called digesting your experience. Digesting your experience. And that's being unattached, which is what, like I said, that's what Buddhism is all about. And so does somebody have some question? I think 3 o'clock, some question. Somebody have some question about any of that? Okay, so, yeah. They're not working so well. Yeah. Okay.
I have one question about schedule and milestone.
Yes.
I'm an engineer.
Mm.
But what I meant is that if you take our life, you can take one schedule for 80 years, right? So you are born, you go to school, and then you get married, and then you go to work, and then you retire. These are the milestones. So my question is that if you take the meditation, and if you apply the schedule, of course the start is start learning the meditation, the end is enlightenment, less than enlightenment. What are the milestones in the
What are the what?
what are the milestones? Milestones.
Oh, the milestones.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
That is the result of your action life.
So what are the milestones? I was just talking about the milestones. All of this was the milestones. So when you're practicing, then what happens, you're able to let go of your anger. So you're not taking that anger out on your family. Okay? Some of the milestones is that when you go to your job, you don't get into knockdown, drag-out fights with your boss, and you're able to see. Sometimes you go to work, it's not about your situation, but your boss is upset. Okay? Your boss gets angry at you. But if you're practicing, if you're just practicing as you go through life, you're able, instead of reacting to your boss by getting angry, you look at him, you say, what's going on with my boss? Something wrong with his family? Something going on? So that's one of the milestones. You're not enlightened, and nobody's talking about enlightenment, but you can see your mind. You can see your mind enough so that you don't have to follow your mind. You don't have to follow your karma. Okay? Yeah, okay, my boss gets angry at me, I'm angry, but I don't have to follow that anger. Okay, I can look at my boss. I can have enough distance from my anger to look at my boss and say what's going on. Okay? Okay, but when you're practicing and you're practicing well, that means that as you go about your day-to-day life, you can't keep a wadu 24 hours a day, but what you do is that you're waiting at the bus stop, okay? And you're waiting for the bus, and you see people going by. You look at the pretty girls, yeah? You're looking at the pretty girls, or you're looking at the pretty men, right? Whatever. Okay, take a moment and say, who is that that's looking? Okay, who is that that's looking? That'll bring you to this before thinking mind. Who is that that's looking? All right, do that for a few minutes, and then go back to looking at your sights. You can do that. You're waiting you go to the store, you're waiting in line, and instead of reading the magazine, you can say, who's standing here? Okay, who's standing here? You do that. And you go back to this before thinking mind. And then sometimes what happens, you'll find when you get good at this, what will happen is that this clear mind will just appear. Will just appear as you in your day-to-day life. So instead of your karma eye, all the thinking, all the stuff that goes on, this clear mind appears. So how does that happen? So maybe one day you're walking down the street and you're looking in the window, okay? And then you cross the street and you continue walking down the street and you're just looking around. Then all of a sudden you look back on yourself and you realize that you wasn't thinking about yesterday, you wasn't thinking about tomorrow, you wasn't thinking about the nice food you're going to have. You were just doing that. And that's what they say is true meditation. True meditation, Zen Master Seung Sahn says, is only do it. Only do it. Okay? And that's when you're what you're doing and your inside are one. And that's what it is, very simple. But you have to practice to do that. And those are the milestones that happen as you go along, you know. So the milestones is am I always following my anger, always following my mind? Or can I react? Can I follow the situation? The situation is not about me. Because you looked and you saw that there's no I, my, or me, so why make a stupid situation? Follow the situation. So that's kind of like how that is. And as you practice, those things happen. Okay? Yeah. All right.
When you mention about the clear mind, sometimes I can see my own mind working, relatively speaking. Is that the same thing as your definition of clear mind?
What color is the floor? What color is the floor?
Brown color.
Okay, that's clear mind. What do you want? Yeah. Okay. When you looked at the floor, you didn't say that floor is ugly. I don't like that floor. You said the floor is brown. Right? It's clear mind. It's not real complicated. You can hear that aircon right there. You hear that aircon? Aircon. The aircon. Yeah. You can hear that. Yeah. That's your clear mind. There's not something saying, now let's listen. There's nothing going on there. You can hear. That's your clear mind. What's really interesting about the clear mind and your true nature is that it appears hundreds of times each day in every human being. Okay? What we do is that we practice how we can use that clear mind and how we can use that clear mind to see our true self. Okay? But it appears for everybody. And another thing that you notice about everybody is that everybody has to get away from their thinking from time to time. Those of us who cannot get away from our thinking, guess where they are? They're in the hospital. They're in the hospital because they can't get away from their thinking. Their thinking has no self-nature. They'll take you to hell if you let it. Okay? So if you look at all human beings, and you look in your day-to-day life, everybody gets away from their thinking. Somehow they meet a friend, or they see a movie, or they do something. Okay, they have to get away from it. You can't sit there and you'll get done in while you're thinking. Okay, so that's a thing about that. And so the other thing is that just talking about this anger having no self-nature, or your feelings having no self-nature, is that one of the things I wanted to point out is that you'll see that there are a lot of people, just in America, in fact, it happened yesterday and the day before, that somebody went to a movie theater and killed 12 people and injured 59. He went in there and shot up the place. They were just having a review of the Batman movie. The new movie come out, maybe last night, day before. Somebody went in there and just shot up the place. Now people knew this guy. He was just like somebody who was going to college. And then all of this stuff just built up in him, and this is what he did. And so what's really interesting I can tell you about anger is that actually your anger, the power that your anger has, this is what's really funny about it, the power that your anger has is the power that you gave it. That you gave your anger that kind of power. So if your anger is really hurting you, if your anger is really causing you misery, you're giving it the power to do that. How do you do that? By dwelling on it. By dwelling on your anger. If you don't dwell on it, it's going to disappear. It's very simple. It's a very simple formula. So that's one of the reasons about what practicing. Practicing actually, you have practice, so you have a karma eye. This karma eye means that as a practicing people who don't practice, when something bothers them, they move. So you like something you don't like, so then what you do is you do something you do like. You get a piece of chocolate. Something bothers you, you call your friend. Something bothers you, you go for a run. Okay? That's how a non-practicing person does. But a practicing person, these things, they sit there and they look at their mind and they see it. So something bothers you, then it appears, okay, and then it disappears. Like that. It appears, and then it disappears. You don't follow it, and you don't hold on to it, and you don't push it away. Okay, so, but I don't, I was trying to make a point about anger. So this thing about anger is like I said, is that the energy that your anger has, that it comes back at you, the anger that this man had that he used to shoot these people in the movie theater, this man, he dwelled on his anger almost 24/7. You can be so angry that you're not even thinking of your anger, that it's just going on automatic mode. How many people have been angry like that? I've been like that in my past, I know. You know, just you're so angry that you're no longer thinking about your anger, but it's in the background and it's working. But you made that, okay? You made that. And you can unmake it. You can unmake it. You can, anything that your mind is doing, you can undo if you know the right technique, the right practice. And the thing about that is that when you do that, when you learn to do that, it's on you to show somebody else also how they can do that. And that's how human beings are. That's our true nature. Okay? So, some other question?
I don't know, but it's a little maybe scientific or something.
Okay.
But it's about energies and how they transfer from person to person. And how even your own energy can, it manifests, the thoughts manifest themselves into matter in the sense that you become sick, or, I don't know, depression becomes, it manifests in the body.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Well, this exactly like is what I'm saying, is that you see people with nervous twitches and things like that, you know. So then basically what happened is that they had some anger, some discomfort, and they just kind of dwell on it. And then they keep going with that, this kind of karma. And this karma, or this energy, then becomes physical. Okay, so that's how a lot of people with depression, manic depressives, you know, this manic depression kind of becomes a kind of physical thing. But in their life, I guess you could say, might even say in their past lives, they just, instead of letting go of this anger, they just kept going with it. And when you keep going with your emotions like that, it begins to manifest physically. And you'll see as older people with the nervous twitching and different kinds of things, and that's kind of some of their karma is kind of manifesting in that way. And so how exactly? But the only thing that I could say is that the only way that you can really look at that is that you can see that as in terms of anger. Okay, you just stay with one kind of a anger for a long time. You don't express it. Okay, you just have it. Okay, and you push it down. You push it into some part of your body, and then that happens in like a heart problem. Okay, so I know people like that. They have a weak heart. Well, how'd they have the weak heart? When they were young, something trauma happened, and so they put that there in their heart, and so the rest of their life now they have a weak heart. And that kind of thing. So exactly how that happens, I can't tell you.
Okay. And now
We're gonna.
we are going to end the first session. So we are going to look at the COVID part. Then we have two things to do for now. We prepare for Q&A. We are going to share and we have some good questions and from 3:30 we have a lady from Korean Street and Cultural Promotion Project. They bring some video clips for our Buddhist heritage in Korea, like the Hoku Roto and the Korea Buddhist heritage. now